This lesson is Bull Run to Antietam, the early part of the Civil War. Strengths of North and South. The North, much better prepared for war. North had twice as much railroad track. That should say much railroad track there. North had twice as many factories, and the Northern economy, much better balanced. The Southern economy was essentially agriculture. The North had more money in its banks. It had a functioning government. The Union government was just the federal government. It was ready to go. It didn't need creation like the Confederate government did. And it had 2/3 of the population. It had a population advantage. The Confederates had the benefit of military leadership. Okay, most of the military colleges were in the South. At the beginning of the Civil War, the military leadership much stronger on the Confederate side. The South had a defensive position. They knew their territory, and they were fighting to preserve their way of life, whereas in the North, people who had to go to war oftentimes were annoyed about it. Union strategies. They pursued a naval blockade of the southern states. It was called the Anaconda Plan. The Confederates engaged in a war of attrition. The idea is wear down the enemy, outlast them until they finally want to surrender. They assumed the North would lose the will to fight, and they essentially thought that that cotton would lead Great Britain and France, their cotton customers, to support them and help them gain their independence. Technology and tactics of the time. So accurate muskets and rifles were used. Cannons fired shells and canisters. And there was one big missed opportunity early in the war that we'll end on today. So General George McClellan lands troops near Norfolk, Virginia. He had 100,000, and it was near a Confederate force of 15,000 in Yorktown. McClellan decides not to attack, despite Lincoln ordering him to attack. He choked like the Miami Heat against the New York Knicks in the late 1990s. It's a great historic what if, because this is before the Emancipation Proclamation. What if McClellan had attacked, caused that army to surrender, and very likely ended the war right then? What would have happened with slavery? What would have happened with Reconstruction? What would have happened with Lincoln's assassination? A huge historic what if. So that is our lesson on the early military part of the Civil War, from Bull Run to Antietam.